Welcome back, traders and investors, to Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep, brought to you by MarketFi. I'm your co-host, Joel Elconin, along with Brianna Valesky. And we have Dr. Stanley Riggs on the line. He's an author and wealth manager, the author of Build Wealth and Spend It All, Live the Life You've Earned. How you doing this morning, Stanley?
Great, Joel. Brianna, it's great to be here with you today.
Okay, so you're an author. You wrote a book, Build Wealth and Spend It All. Could you tell us about the book and what inspired you to write it?
I've spent 40 years of my life doing various successful careers, each of which have given me financial freedom. And I decided to write a book to help people to learn how to both build wealth and to achieve financial freedom, as well as to encourage them to enjoy gifting or spending it all while they're still able to and before they find themselves in a nursing home. The biggest issue I could see with people who I would speak with and would ask me, how do you do it, would be a misunderstanding that they would have about being rich or versus being wealthy, and a big misunderstanding about good debt versus bad debt. So I decided that I put it in a book to try to help people.
Okay, so let's go into some of the topics, of your book. The topic of real assets versus true liabilities. Break that down for us.
That's probably one of the best questions to ask at this point in time, because an asset is very different than a liability. An asset puts money into your wallet. Liabilities take money out of your wallet. That's the simplest way to break it down. An asset will give you money, a liability will take money from you. An example of an asset would be dividend-paying stocks or interest-paying bonds or income-producing real estate. That's primarily my interest, is income-producing real estate. Liabilities are mainly consumer debt. Debt that people use to buy an expensive automobile or an expensive motor coach or an expensive home with high maintenance. So a liability will take money out of your pocket, often on a monthly basis, whereas an asset will put money into your pocket also almost on a monthly basis in some cases.
Okay, let's move on here and talk about good debt versus bad debt.
Bad debt is debt that you need to pay down. You need to use your own work, time, and effort to pay it off. And when it's paid off, you often have very little to show for it. You have something of almost no value. An example of that would be consuming or revolving credit debt. Or if you would buy a big motor coach or a big boat or a luxury sports car, or, again, an expensive home. Bad debt, again, is debt that you work to pay down. And at the end of the term, you probably have nothing to show for it. A lot of these items that people use debt to buy will decrease 20% in value in the first 20 minutes. That's pretty pathetic. You lose 20% in the first 20 minutes. Good debt is debt that somebody else pays off. Somebody else will pay off that debt. And when it's all paid off, you have something that is usually worth more than it was worth when you bought it. The example I like to use, because of my interest in real estate, is income-producing property. With income-producing property, the tenant pays a mortgage, he pays the property taxes, he pays insurance, all wrapped up in his rent, and he basically buys an appreciating asset for the owner, for the landlord. And the landlord has an income stream. And when it's all paid off, there's an income stream for retirement. And what I like mostly about real estate and property, as opposed to some Wall Street products, is that it's within my custody and under my control. And that's where I like to invest. So bad debt is debt that you pay down and you end up with nothing. Good debt is debt that someone else pays down and you end up with more than you started with.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So discuss the difference between being wealthy and being rich.
That's a distinction that people confuse all the time, and they use those terms interchangeably, Joel. And it kind of it's sad to hear people use those terms interchangeably because they're very different. Rich is high income, high expenses. Rich is a high income, no net worth treadmill. It's a treadmill that people are on until they die. And I see a lot of professional people on that treadmill, attorneys and doctors, people who have to turn the key every day to earn the money, and they spend everything they earn, or maybe even more than they earn. They're usually leaders in a community. They drive the expensive automobiles, live in an expensive part of town, but they have no equity in these items. Wealth is very, very different. Wealth is a measure, Joel, of both time and money. Wealth is how long you can live the lifestyle of your choosing based on unearned or passive income. Wealth is really a balance. It's not a number. It's not 1 million or 2 million or 4 million net worth. It's a balance. It's a balance between your passive or investment income and your expenses. So you can have a small investment income, but if your expenses are less than that, you have financial freedom. You have wealth. Again, the rich is a treadmill. It's a high income, high spending, no net worth treadmill. Wealth is a balance where investment income exceeds expenses. Wealth is really financial freedom. Rich is a treadmill.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about economic cycles here and where we are at in this economic cycle and perhaps what's the next cycle we're going to be heading into.
I enjoy economic cycles. Some people follow sports. I follow economic cycles. I've done so since the 1990s. And I first started reading Mr. Dent's work. In this last recession of 2008, I saw a lot of hardworking folks suffer financially and personally, but they shouldn't have, because students of economic cycles really never surprised. We've had over 300 asset bubbles recorded in history. It started even before, even back in BC, 325 BC. There were sunspot cycles. And Isaac Newton, the gravity guy, he was a speculator in a South Sea company. He made a lot of money, and then he put money back into it, doubled down, so to speak, and he lost most of his money. He died broke. If Isaac Newton had known more about economic cycles and less about gravity, he wouldn't be famous, but he wouldn't have died broke, perhaps.
So where are we at here? I mean, this economic cycle, this bull market's been going on for, I don't know, 6 years now. Do you expect it 7 years? Do you expect it to continue? What's your outlook?
Well, I like to use different tools for following economic cycles. There's the yield curve, which most people agree is the most accurate predictor of the economic cycle. It's a plotted range of yields of U.S. Treasuries from short to long-term maturities. Positive yield curve is a good indicator of future good times, and a down yield curve is usually indication of an impending recession or depression. Also, the composite index of leading economic indicators, following that helps. I like to look at the ISM, Institute of Supply Management. That's private. And also for short term, I like to look at the volatility index. It's called the VIX, VIX.
Mm-hmm.
If your financial advisor thinks that VIX is a cough drop, you've got a problem. So I like to follow those. And I've always had, for 20 years now, the economic cycle diagram on the wall of my office. And we'll move that arrow. We moved it recently, and we'll move it as time goes on. You always need to know where you are in the economic cycle. And if you follow the indicators, the four that I mentioned, especially the yield curve and the ISM, and you're aware of where you are on the economic cycle, there are no surprises. And you need to remember one thing in particular, Joel, and that is the immutable law of reversion to the mean. the reversion to the mean. It's like the law of gravity practically. And I always like to quote Wayne Gretzky. He's one of the greatest hockey players of all time.
Oh, Dennis would be loving you now. He's a big Edmonton Oilers fan. But let's hear the Wayne Gretzky quote.
Well, Joe, Wayne Gretzky is known as having said, "I always skated to where the puck was going, not to where it was."
Yep, that's true.
And that's why you want to know where you are on the economic cycle, so that you can skate to where the puck is going. Too many people focus on where the puck is, and that's the issue with Wall Street. They live quarter to quarter. I don't live quarter to quarter. I live in 5 to 8 year cycles, and I don't follow the stock market on an hour or a daily basis. And I think that's the issue that people have, is they live from quarter to quarter, and so they really don't see when the economic cycles are actually peaking. But if you understand economic cycles, you can get out. You can't always pick the top or the bottom, but as long as you're on the right side of the curve, you won't get hurt.
Okay, before I let you go, I just have to ask you two things. And one, implications of demographics on everything and the economic cycles, and then the case for spending it all. I mean, is that because you don't want it to go to Uncle Sam, or I don't know if you have any children that you want to leave it to? How do you make a case for spending it all?
Okay, the first question, demographics. Demographics is a statistical study of a population. It's really a looking glass into the future. And there's a demographic waves based on sizes of different demographic groups. Most importantly, everybody talks about the baby boomer population. And if you look at healthcare innovation alone, look what the baby boomer generation has done to healthcare. It brought on initially pediatric care, then fertility research. Later on, it brought on liposuction, then facelifts. Now it's bringing on new frontiers of hearing aids and ED medication. My fellow baby boomers, we drove the diaper market in the 1950s in our terrible threes, and we'll drive the diaper market again in 2040 in our naughty 90s, so to speak. So demographics is like a slow-moving freight train, and it's important to understand that the millennial generation, they will be investing in very different items than the baby boomer generation. The baby boomers invested in the stock market. The millennials saw their parents sitting around the kitchen table in 2000 and in 2008 having lost 40% of their earnings. The millennials will not get into the Wall Street game. They will not become the retail investors. And when the baby boomers begin pulling their money out of Wall Street, cashing in their stocks and their bonds to fund their retirement, there's going to be a sucking sound on Wall Street. There's going to be a vacuum because the millennials will not fill that vacuum. So that's the important part of demographics, is the millennial generation is investing very differently than the baby boomers, and if you don't realize that, you'll get hurt. You asked about spending it all. I saw my mother in a nursing home for about a year and a half. She was 96 years old, and I realized what will come of all of our savings. She was a teacher, and my father's a municipal worker, and they had lived a frugal life and saved. A cumulative between the two of them, it was 90 years between the two of them of saving, 45 years each. And that money was gone in 18 months in a nursing home. It was gone. And that's when I realized that it makes sense to save for retirement, but you need to remember that you should spend it in your retirement and before you get to the nursing home, because it's scalable. It makes sense to save for retirement, but it really doesn't make sense to save for very late in life. And I think a lot of baby boomers are going to miss out and not really get to enjoy everything they've worked for and earned in their lives. Personally, I want to be the richest. So I want to be the fellow with the greatest memories and the least amount of money in a nursing home. I'd rather be broke and have rich memories than be rich and have broken dreams when I'm in a nursing home. So I encourage people to spend or gift everything you've earned in life, and do the gifting before you die, when you have control over it, and when you get to see the benefits of it, and most importantly, you can gift it to people at times in their life when it really moves the needle. You can gift to people when they need the money for their education, or money for their first home, or some point in their life that's meaningful. I think that's important.
Okay, Dr. Stanley Riggs, author and wealth manager. Build wealth and spend it all. Live the life you've earned, giving us his broad perspective on investing as well as life. Thank you, Stanley, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Joe and Brianna, thank you very much.